Good morning, everyone. We're glad you're here with us. I am Lindsay Horvath, Chair of the LA County Board of Supervisors, representing the 3rd District, and we have a lot in store for you this morning. It's incredibly powerful to have so many leaders from across Los Angeles County here today to share why diverse representation on the Board of Supervisors matters, why ethics, transparency, and accountability are more important than ever. Los Angeles County is considering a first-in-a-century proposal for governance and ethics reform. My colleague, Supervisor Janice Hahn, will share more about our proposal, but first, I am delighted to welcome 2 of our federal partners. First, a fearless leader, the chair of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, and our Congress member representing the 28th District, someone I am honored to call a friend who I have been supporting since her race for Congress, and I am just so thrilled that she's here with us this morning, the Honorable Judy Chu.
Yay.
Hello, I'm Congress Member Judy Chu, and I am so thrilled to be here today because today history is being made. And it took women, an all-woman Board of Supervisors, to do this.
Yay.
Yeah. In particular, I have to really thank Supervisors Lindsay Horvath, Janice Hahn, and Hilda Solis for their incredible leadership in opening up these supervisorial seats so that everybody can have a voice in LA County.
That's right.
Well, our current form of government was established in 1912. It's remained unchanged for a century. Back then, our population was 500,000, and the landscape of our society was so drastically different. Women didn't even have the right to vote.
That's right.
But you fast forward to today, we are the most populous county in the nation, with each of our 5 supervisors representing an overwhelming 2 million constituents. It's time we acknowledge that our governance structure must evolve to meet the demands of today. And one of the crucial changes is the expansion of the Board of Supervisors from 5 to 9 members. This expansion is not just a structural adjustment. It's a crucial step towards ensuring that our government truly represents the rich diversity of our region. LA County is home to more Asian Americans than any other county in the United States, with close to 1.5 million AA and HPIs living here. Asian Americans have outpaced overall population growth, with cities such as Monterey Park, Koreatown, Long Beach, Torrance, Cerritos, and Santa Clarita seeing their AA and HPI communities more than triple in size. In fact, today, LA County is home to 14 Asian majority suburbs, many of whom are in my district in the San Gabriel Valley. But despite this overwhelming growth of AA and HPI communities across LA County, there is not a single person who is AA and HPI who sits on the Board of Supervisors. In fact, in its 172-year history, LA County has never had an AA and HPI person on the board. And that is injustice. For far too long, the AA and HPI community has been marginalized. And when we think about some of the most discriminatory laws, like the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 or the incarceration of Japanese Americans during World War II, we didn't have representation amongst our elected officers. And fortunately, this can change, though, and that is with this measure. We can reflect who we are as a county. By increasing the number of supervisors, each will represent 1 million constituents, bringing governance closer to the people and enhancing representation so that the AA and HPI community can finally have a voice. And look at how this measure is being presented with such good reforms. First of all, there will be no new net costs with this change. That's very important for the voters to know. The other very important thing is that it will establish an independent ethics commission that will increase transparency, build public trust, and combat corruption. These reforms will make sure that there are the necessary checks and balances for a government that will work for all of us. But for any of this to become a reality, we need the help of all of you. We need you to support our Board of Supervisors so that this initiative is indeed placed on the November ballot. And once that's passed, we need all Angelenos to come out and vote in favor of an LA County that is indeed representative of those who live here. And that we can finally, with this measure, have a government that works for all of us. And now I would like to introduce my colleague from the South Bay area, Congressmember Ted Lieu, who is our highest ranking Asian American in our Democratic leadership. Congressmember Ted Lieu.
Thank you.
Not Diamond Bar anymore.
Okay.
Put down.
Hello, I'm so honored to be here in support of Supervisor Lindsay Horvath and Supervisor Janice Hahn and Hilda Solis's proposal to expand the LA County Board of Supervisors. I want to say a few words about Congresswoman Judy Chu. I've had the honor working with her. She is chair of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus. She does a fantastic job. And Judy and I have the privilege of voting for laws that apply across America that provide significant amounts of funding, such as infrastructure and clean energy projects and projects to help not just Montana and Florida, but also LA County. We also provide funding for social services. It is, however, local government that implements these amounts of funds. Each of the 5 members of LA County Board of Supervisors have done fantastic jobs given the constraints they face every day. And one of the constraints they face is they have over 2 million constituents each. They have massive districts, and it's just really hard to be responsive to over 2 million people. So this proposal is going to help the LA County Board of Supervisors make LA County government work even better for everyone in the county by making it so that each person has about 1 million members, which is still quite a number of constituents, but it is better than 2 million. I also support the proposal that has an ethics office in here. Congress has one. I think every level of government should have one. I'm pleased that this is also going to have it. And at the end of the day, if you can have more supervisors that can work on getting these funds and delivering them out to the people of Los Angeles County, that's going to make your life better. It's going to make the county work better. And I'm just so thrilled that this proposal is going to be voted on by the voters. And I want to commend again Supervisors Horvath and Hahn and Solis for passing this historic reform. And just want to conclude on this. When this form of government was set up in LA County in 1912, there were 500,000 people in LA County. Now it's grown to over 10 million, and that's why we need to have this reform to simply deal with the additional population in LA County since 1912. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to LA County Board Chair Lindsay Horvath.
Good job, Ted.
Thank you, Congressmember Lieu. We certainly appreciate your leadership and partnership, and I know sharing a constituency, I have witnessed firsthand your leadership, and I thank you for all that you do. Thank you for being also a long champion for accountability and transparency across all levels of government. We are in gratitude of your leadership. When Supervisor Hahn and I put forward this motion, it is an architecture for governance reform that we hoped would be considered by voters this November, the first major reform in 100 years. These changes are not radical. They are long overdue, and they are desperately needed. We're here because it is time for more diverse voices with a seat at the table on the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. There are 3 key components to our governance reform package that returns to the board as an ordinance for consideration this coming Tuesday. First, it creates an elected county executive, similar to a governor and a legislature, or mayor and city council. An elected county executive would provide LA County with the necessary checks and balances and separation of powers found at the federal, state, and city levels of government. Second, it expands the Board of Supervisors from 5 to 9. Increasing the board to 9 supervisors would allow more voices that reflect the diversity of LA County, the diversity of our AAPI community, to be at the table to shape county policy. By essentially cutting our districts in half, we're ensuring our communities have better access to the elected supervisors who represent them. Good government is one with checks and balances, which is why the third component is so critical. It is ethics reform. This includes creating an independent ethics commission to increase transparency and build public trust. The Independent Ethics Commission would enhance accountability and integrity within the county's governance, holding our elected representatives to the highest levels of ethical conduct with protocols to root out corruption. And as Congresswoman Chu said, it took a board of women supervisors to make this change. But we want to make sure that this charter amendment lasts past this board of supervisors, that this is not just something that is created by ordinance, it is something that the people get to vote on and affirm. Our proposal includes important measures for transparency. The county's current budget process happens behind closed doors. This reform package requires open budget hearings by departments each year because our communities deserve to know exactly how our $46 billion budget is being spent and, most importantly, how it impacts them. It also designates that a task force led by members of the public oversee reform implementation. A county as large and complex as ours requires a government structure fit for this moment. The fact that we have never had an Asian American LA County supervisor is absurd and should not be the case in 2024. This proposal, I'm glad to hear some enthusiasm for that. We're excited about it too. This proposal creates the opportunity to change that. With that, I'd like to welcome my partner in this effort, Supervisor Janice Hahn.
Thank you, Chair Horvath. And earlier, you're right. Congressmember Chu embraced Lindsay and said, "You're my hero on this." And I feel the same way because I've been advocating for this a long time, and I never could find an ally that was with me. But you're not only the ally, you have taken this, you have led with this, and you have made it so much better than I ever imagined. It's good to see my friends, my former colleagues, Congressmember Ted Lieu and Congresswoman Judy Chu here at the Kenneth Hahn Hall of Administration. You know, I served in Congress alongside them for 5 years. And when I decided to leave Congress and come home to run for the LA County Board of Supervisors, it shocked a lot of my colleagues. People in Washington, D.C. had a hard time wrapping their head around why anyone would give up a seat in Congress to run for a local county supervisor job. But the LA County Board of Supervisors is unique. We are the largest county in the nation. We are more populous than 40 states and home to 1 out of every 34 Americans resides in LA County. And yet LA County has a smaller governing body than counties half our size. Each supervisor represents a whopping 2 million people. These districts have been too big for too long. Even my father, back in 1972, wanted to expand the board. But after the last census, these massive districts became a real problem for our redistricting commission. Our independent redistricting commission had a real challenge slicing our 10 million person county into just 5 districts that gave fair representation to every community. And one community that has been shortchanged because of these massive districts is the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. No one district has an AAPI majority, but if the proposal that Supervisor Horvath and I have put forward, that could change. And we want this board to expand from 5 to 9 seats. Not because we want bigger government, but because we want better and more representative government. We want to make sure that more voices are in our boardroom when we're deciding how to tackle the biggest challenges we face as a county. The AAPI community deserves a seat at that table. And I appreciate the AAPI leaders and activists who are with us today, like Councilmember Melissa Ramosa from Artesia, from my district, who will be speaking soon. I love LA County. I was born and raised in LA County, but I think we can do even better, and that is what we're setting out to do together. Now, we don't have an ethics commission yet, but I know good government, so I actually have to leave the room right now so that Supervisor Solis can come, because we can't have 3 supervisors in the same room at the same time while there is an issue pending before us. So I'll be back.
Thank you, Supervisor Hahn, for your partnership and for joining me in this effort. And as we welcome Supervisor Hilda Solis, I just want to thank her for her vote of yes to move forward with this proposal. As we shared earlier, on Tuesday, County Council will be bringing forward the first draft of the ordinance for our consideration. And so I now want to welcome Supervisor Hilda Solis to share a few words on this proposal.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and what an exciting time. Thank you to our chair, Lindsay Horvath, and Supervisor Hahn, and especially to my former friends and colleagues, and still remain longtime friends, and that's Judy Chu, Congresswoman, who actually took over my seat, and also Congressman Ted Lieu, and all the elected officials and advocates that are here today. What a historic moment for all of us. I think many of you can recall that this discussion about expanding the board has been happening for a long time. And as recent as almost 2-3 years ago, we also introduced a motion to help expand the board. And it's because we need to see a reflected board that looks like us, that looks like this room, that makes space for the AAPI community, which now represents 15% of the 10 million people that live in the county of Los Angeles. And some of you might recall when we were going through redistricting very recently, we looked at setting up different places where we could keep collectively our AAPI communities together, to keep the influence and interest together. That's always what it's about. Civil rights, representation, transparency. And now we have a chance to do this with this new governance model to help expand the board from 5 members to 9 members, but do it in a way that is inclusive and involves everyone. And I will say to you that the district that I now represent is the highest, is one of the districts with the highest number of AAPI residents. And they come from different walks of life and different ethnicities within the AAPI community. I'm so proud of that. Not only do we remain very diligent in seeking and making sure that our AAPI residents have voices, but now we want to bring that collectively together to create more representation. And that's what this is about. I'm so excited to be here and want to encourage everyone to look at the ordinance itself, to come out, support it, but also make meaningful discussion and debate of how you're going to participate and inspire other people to get involved and get engaged in public service, because that's what it's about at the end of the day. I happen to have represented for the last almost 30 years the San Gabriel Valley, which is home to one of the largest regions of AAPI residents. And now with the inclusion of Hacienda Heights, Rowland Heights, and many other areas, including northeast sections, which is Filipino Town, Chinatown, Little Tokyo, Thai Town, I can go on and on. It is not just a cluster, it is a significant number, almost 500,000 AAPI residents that make up LA County residents. So we're here to sing the praises of the community because we know that the leadership is there, it's ready to go, and we know that there's a seat at the table, and we want to make sure that this is inclusive. So again, I want to thank the authors of the motion and the ordinance, and also to ask all of you to come out to vote because it's about transparency, it's about creating an ethics office, it's making sure that we have new prohibitions so that people just can't have a revolving door and come back in and out of service, and to make sure that we have entities that oversee the budget and help us execute what the entire board in our communities want. So it really is transformative, and it is about reform, but it's reform that's inclusive. So that's what I think the difference is between any other motion or potential motion that would have come before the board. So thank you, muchísimas gracias, and congratulations to all of you. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Supervisor Solis. We're going to welcome back Supervisor Hahn. And next to speak, we have Alhambra City Council member and League of California Cities AAPI caucus leader, Jeff Maloney.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you to Supervisor Solis, Supervisor Hahn, and Supervisor Horvath, of course. Good morning. My name is Jeff Maloney. I'm a council member in the city of Alhambra, just a few miles up the road from here. And as you've already heard about why this visionary reform of county government is so needed, it's about accountability, ethics, fiscal responsibility, and more effective government for the residents of LA County. The people here today in this room know that this proposal is not about more government, it is about good government. As we know and have we heard, the LA County is home to one of the largest AAPI communities in the entire country. It's at 15% and growing. In addition to serving as a council member in a majority AAPI city that you heard about in Alhambra, I also serve as the president of the AAPI caucus of the League of California Cities. And I can tell you that our AAPI communities are yearning for adequate representation at all levels of government. Expansion of the Board of Supervisors will provide our community with a real chance at self-representation at the county level, to ensure that our voices are heard and that we're at the table when decisions are being made, to guarantee that the specific needs of our diverse communities are addressed head-on. It is time. But let's be clear, we love our current Board of Supervisors. Without the efforts of these brave women, we would not be here having this discussion today. They paved the way, and I thank you all on behalf of my community for pushing this reform. I was thinking about this event today, and it dawned on me that we're just a couple generations away from draconian anti-Asian policies of the last century, aimed directly at immigrant families, policies that set the stage for the unlawful incarceration over 100,000 people of Japanese descent, including my own family, my own mother, based solely on their race. And now we're still recovering from a renewed wave of anti-Asian hate over the last couple of years. To be on the precipice of a proposal that would empower members of this community to be elected to the most powerful local government body in the nation is monumental. And I'm honored to gather with you all here today to support this historic measure. Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce my friend, Councilmember Melissa Hermoso from the city of Artesia.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Maloney. Good morning. I am Melissa Hermoso, council member and former mayor for the city of Artesia. City of Artesia actually has 37% AA and HPIs, and 17% is Filipino. It is an honor to be the first Asian and Filipino woman to ever serve my great city in an elected position, and stand here today with respected leaders I have admired for so many years. I join them today in full support of the proposal for ethics and governance reforms in Los Angeles County. Having been born and raised in one of the greatest and diverse counties in the United States, it is crucial that the government that serves each and every one of us looks like us, and especially looks like me. There are 1.5 million Asian American, NHPI, and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders residents in Los Angeles County, many of which have the largest population outside of their native countries in Los Angeles County, and now overall have outpaced the population growth in at least the last 40 years. Expanding the Board of Supervisors not only gives historically underrepresented communities a seat at the decision-making table, especially for the first time ever in AA and HPI communities, but will create a more inclusive and good governance county that we all deserve. Having worked now in government for 20 years at the local, state, and federal level, it is also extremely critical to create an ethics commission. I am fortunate that it has been ingrained in me that I should hold the highest ethical standards as a longtime public servant. But for the generations of new and upcoming wave of elected officials who will see more in the years to come, the Ethics Commission will hold our elected supervisors and even our county workers and staff responsible for their own actions and remind them there are standards we must observe and abide by. This creates trust, accountability, public confidence that many resident voters are entitled to. I commend Supervisors Horvath, Hahn, and Solis for their leadership and dedication to advancing the necessary changes and moving our county into 21st century, and for being on the right side of history, truly being a supporter and ally of communities of color. Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce my good friend, longtime leader, Manju Kulkarni of AAPI Alliance.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you to members of the media for your attendance, to Congress members Chu and Liu for your continuing leadership, and to our local elected officials for hosting today's press conference. My name is Manjusha Kulkarni, and I'm Executive Director of AAPI Equity Alliance, a coalition of nearly 50 community-based organizations that together serve and represent the 1.6 million Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in Los Angeles County. AAPI Equity Alliance began almost 50 years ago as APCON, as leaders in our community found themselves missing from the table and neglected by LA County government and policies. They understood the significance of representation and its impact on our communities. Things are certainly different now. Today, 1 in 6 Angelenos is Asian American or Pacific Islander. Let me say it again. 1 in 6 are AAPI. And despite our population size, we have never had a member of our community on the Board of Supervisors. And many in our community do not feel that LA County government is responsive to their needs. Our community needs and deserves better, which is why AAPI Equity Alliance is supporting the effort for county governance reform. There are many unknown factors, and the timeline for this process has been a bit rushed, but we know that the status quo cannot stand. Our end goal is not only better representation, but better services and better policies for all communities of color. We believe that an expanded Board of Supervisors gives us an opportunity for better representation. We believe an elected CEO makes our county more responsive to the electorate. And we believe that community engagement at every step in this process is required to avoid pitting communities of color against each other and to ensure that equity is absolutely front and center. We look forward to working with the authors of this initiative, as well as others, to shape a truly equitable plan that will impact Angelenos for years to come. Thank you. And it's my honor and privilege to introduce Nancy Yap, who is not only the Executive Director of CAUSE, but also a co-chair of the AAPI Equity Alliance Civic Engagement Task Force. Nancy.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. I know I've already been inspired by all of your words and just really hopeful for what is in this future, especially with this. With a population of 10 million, LA County has long been at the forefront of paving the way for diversity and inclusion. Today, we stand with leaders who reaffirm their commitment to this historic charter reform that will ensure more voices are heard at the most powerful table in the county. Building a diverse LA County that excites all communities to get engaged has driven innovation here. This diversity not only includes ethnic, but also age, sector, housing status, and more. Through my work with students at Cause, I'm constantly in awe of their want to be included in these discussions. They want to be included in shaping a future where their voice matters. They want to see their leaders make that true. The mere change in number of supervisors will deeply impact the residents of LA County. There will be better service for residents. There will be more connection to the Board of Supervisors. There will be more opportunities for residents to make their voices heard, increasing civic engagement. Expanding this board and increasing the number of representatives that engage with communities will help more LA County residents inspire and increasing civic engagement involvement. And through that, I hope everyone will turn out and vote and make sure that their voices are heard. We look forward to building a more diverse LA County together, where every community believes their voice matters, and where LA County could see another historic first, the first Asian and Pacific Islander supervisor. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to Council Members Reymoso and Maloney, to Manju and to Nancy. It's incredibly meaningful to have all of your support, and I know there is a whole community and coalition of support represented here by so many leaders. I thank you for joining us here today. In closing, I want to share a few details on next steps in the process from here. This governance reform package, passed by a majority of the board at our July 9th meeting, will come back to the board this Tuesday, July 23rd, to consider an ordinance for charter amendments. The board will consider those amendments, and if approved, there will be a second reading of the amendments, and then a charter reform ballot measure will be placed on the November ballot. I want to thank everyone who joined us for today's announcements and discussion, including Christine Chen, APIA Vote, the Honorable David Rue, Executive Director of AAPI Lead, Dr. Sarah Sadwani, Professor of Politics at Pomona College, Thomas Wong, Mayor of Monterey Park, Henry Lowe, Monterey Park City Council Member, Andrew Yam, Garvey School Board District Member, Ali Taj, Mayor Pro Tem of Artesia, Jessica Caloza, Cast LA Board Member, Herb Hatanaka, SSG, and representatives from California Women's List, LA Democratic Party, Immigrants, RLA, Filipino Workers Center, I see you in your blue shirts, thank you for being here, LA County, Young Democrats, and so many more organizations represented. And on a personal note, I just want to say, as the representative of the district that includes historic Japantown, I've heard from my constituents about painful historic moments in Los Angeles County. They have shared with me what it meant in their community and what it meant to each of them personally. And it is time for us to right those wrongs, to give opportunity and voice, literally a seat at the table, and to codify those changes, not just for this moment in time, but for generations to come. Thank you very much. We're open to any questions that you might have. Yeah.
Questions around cost have arisen around past attempts to expand the board. And you were mentioning that this would not bring added cost to taxpayers. Can you just briefly explain why?
The ordinance itself requires that there will not be additional taxes raised in order to effectuate this change. So we believe that currently our $46 billion budget has enough resource in it for us to reallocate resources to make this change possible within the resources we already have. This will not bring additional taxes in order for this change to be enacted.
And just to follow up, what is the latest estimate on how much an endeavor like this would cost?
Because we are just beginning the process, we are changing, this ordinance will change the architecture, but it will also set forth a public process that brings everyone in to inform exactly how we make those changes. Our governance reform task force is proposed to do that stakeholder engagement and community work. So we want the voices of the community to inform exactly how we make those changes. And once we know exactly how the community wants to see those changes made, we'll be able to determine what the cost impact will be.
What does a political campaign look like on behalf of this? What do you envision? What do you plan?
Well, first, we have to make sure that this gets on the ballot. So we're taking those 2 steps first. We have 2 readings of an ordinance that have to find agreement of the board. Should it make it to the ballot, we believe that we have to communicate with all members of Los Angeles County, all residents, all stakeholders, about the importance of this change. In the past, we have seen that a proposal of just a board expansion or an elected executive separate from one another hasn't been successful, not only because they've been individual pieces, but because we haven't effectively communicated how this change will impact the breadth of Los Angeles County. By wrapping this package in governance and ethics reform efforts, we know that bringing a package of reform will help to educate people that this isn't just one change here or there, but this is a whole package to bring broad sweeping change that increases diverse representation. By communicating that with the community, there will be a lot on the ballot this November, and we want to make sure that we educate people exactly how this will make a difference in Los Angeles County.
Any other questions? Yes, Lucy. This sizable group coming out today to champion this proposal, what kind of message are you hoping to send to constituents, AAPI constituents? Because as you mentioned, this question is not on the ballot quite yet.
So we want everyone to come out this Tuesday. If you want to see this measure on the ballot, it has to pass the Board of Supervisors not once, but twice. So we want you to come out and voice your support for this measure to make sure that it does get on the ballot. That will be this Tuesday, July 23rd. And then should it pass on July 23rd, there will also be a second reading. So that's how it gets on the ballot. But we also want to engage the community going forward, not only to pass the ballot measure, but to make sure the how we implement this change, should it pass, should the voters agree with us that it is time, it is more than time for change. Should the voters agree, we will then engage the community in a stakeholder process going forward. So this isn't the end this month by just getting it on the ballot. It's not the end in November, it's not just enough to pass it. We all have to work together to make sure that this transformational change opportunity actually reflects the will of Los Angeles County and gives the AAPI community and all communities a voice at the table.
But I think what's key about this gathering today is the incredible leaders in the AAPI community. To have 2 members of Congress, high-ranking AAPI members of Congress standing here, to have elected council members, other voices that are credible messengers in the AAPI community. I think the point of bringing all of these leaders together is to show this community, this population, that they are front and center in our thinking as we look to expand the Board of Supervisors. Again, it's not just bigger government. We've intended with this array of really impressive leaders to say the goal is to have more seats at the table and hopefully an AAPI seat at this table. It's so critical, as I think you said, to right some wrongs that historically have been part of Los Angeles.
I also want to acknowledge that Mike Eng, Director Division 3 of the San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District, is also with us. And Adrien Nazarian, former Assembly member.
All right,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Yes.
I know some folks have
Remarks
to.
were so fantastic.
Thank you for having me.
Perfect.
Yeah, let's come in front of the podium, please.